The government of Kenya undertakes to all persons to respect, hold, promote, and fulfill the inalienable constitutional right of every person, peaceably and unarmed, to assemble, demonstrate, picket, and to present petitions to authorities. According to Article 24, 1 billion of the Constitution, this right is no other place, is limited by, among other things, the need to ensure that the enjoyment of these rights does not prejudice rights and freedoms of others. It follows, therefore, those exercising the Article 37 rights assemble, demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities peaceably and unarmed must do so under the following constitutional and legal parameters. 1. They must remain peaceful and unarmed throughout the assembly, demonstration, the picketing, and presentation of any petitions to authorities. 2. They must engage in a manner that does not promote violence or riots, because the right in Article 37 is the right to demonstrate. It is not the right to riot. They must not breach public order. 4. They must not intimidate, harass, or otherwise inconvenience members of the public who are not protesting. Number 4, they must inform the police of their intentions to exercise this right. They must also inform the police of the routes they will take for purposes of providing escorts and ensuring that there is law and order during this constitutional expression. They must also notify the police the timings of their activities. They must stop their activities at sunset or at 6:30 p.m., whichever is earlier, in accordance with the Public Order Act Cap 57 of the laws of Kenya. They must not provoke, attack, injure, or obstruct law enforcement officers or even members of the public. They must also follow the escorts and other guidelines of law enforcement officers to ensure they are protected from non-protesters, they are protected from infiltrators, and they are orderly as they exercise this very fundamental right provided for under the Constitution for every person. They must not obstruct traffic of any kind. motor vehicle traffic, bicycle traffic, border traffic, etc., etc. They must not obstruct, block, vandalize, or otherwise destroy any private or public property. They must adhere to the laws of Kenya, including the Protected Areas Act that limits access to certain critical infrastructure for national security reasons. And the police will guide them in which areas they cannot access by operation of the law on the protection of critical infrastructure. They must not access critical assets for the supply of power, water, or other social amenities in a manner that is likely to interfere with the enjoyment of these amenities by members of the public. They must not interfere with any private activity by non-protesters, and they must not interfere with road, rail, sea, or air transport. Whatever the issues, whatever the grievances, whatever the matter, the rule of law and public order must be maintained by all persons. For the avoidance of doubt, non-protesters and other members of the public who hold a contrary view to that of protesters are bound by the same limitations, and they must exercise their right to disagree, if at all, in the same manner, in the same circumstances. The national security organs of our country shall remain neutral, apolitical, but firm in enforcing the law of our country, and no form of lawlessness is going to be entertained whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, those who wish to exercise their constitutional right can do so today, tomorrow, every day, because it is their right to do so. But they must also adhere to the rule of law, and they need to make sure that other members of the public who either are not interested in what they are doing or they hold a contrary view are also not inconvenienced or harassed in any manner, including the transportation of the people. In the past, we have seen grave breaches to peace. We have seen people pretending to be protesters, damaging road infrastructure and other amenities built by the taxes and the sweat of the people of Kenya. I dare you to try that. We cannot be a country that condemns violence in the name of exercising human rights. Your right and my right end where the right of the next person starts. I repeat, your right and my right end at the point where the right of the next person starts. Katiba ya Kenya inakubalia mtu yoyote kufanya maandamano ya amani bila kujihami. Lakini katiba hiyo hiyo imesema kwamba wakati mtu yeyote anafurahia haki hii ya kibinadamu ambayo iko katika katiba, ni lazima aheshimu haki za wale watu wengine ambao labda hawahusiki na mambo ambayo anafanya. Kwa hivyo katika wakati huu tumepata habari ya kwamba kuna wananchi ambao wangetaka kujieleza na kuandamana kwa sababu wanatofautiana na maamuzi fulani ambayo yamefanywa yakiwa maamuzi ya umma. Uhuru wao wa kujieleza uko katika katiba. Vyombo vya usalama vya taifa la Kenya vitawalinda ili wajieleze, waandamane na vile vile wafanye chochote ambacho wanaweza kufanya, ikiwemo kupeleka matakwa yao katika ofisi ama mahali ambazo wangetaka kusikizwa. Lakini wanapofanya hivyo lazima wazingatie katiba na sheria ya nchi ya Kenya. Wasidhulumu wananchi, wasidhulumu ama kuingilia kazi ya walinda usalama. Vile vile wasiumize miundo misingi ya taifa la Kenya, na vile vile kuna sheria ambazo zinatumiwa katika sehemu maalum ambazo zimelindwa kisheria kwa sababu ya usalama wa taifa, na maafisa wetu wa polisi watawaelekeza ni wapi na wapi hawawezi kufikia, na ni lazima watii amri ambao watapewa na wale ambao ni walinda usalama watakaoelekeza. Wakifuata hiyo sheria, wako na uhuru wa kufanya shughuli yao, lakini lazima wakome hiyo shughuli ifikapo saa 12:30 jioni ama jua linapotua, kwa sababu kazi hiyo haiwezi kuendelea kwa giza, kwa sababu polisi wetu na vyombo vya usalama havina uhakika ya kwamba vitalinda wewe kama wewe unaandamana wakati wa giza, kwa sababu ya hali vile itakuwa. Kwa hivyo vyombo vya usalama wa taifa vitabaki bila kuwa na misimamo ya kisiasa. Kazi yetu ni kulinda usalama wa taifa letu na kuhakikisha wahalifu na wakora hawatumii sababu zozote kuumiza usalama wetu na kuhujumu amani ya nchi. Kwa hivyo vile vile, kama kuna wananchi wako na maoni tofauti na wale wataandamana, hayo maoni vile vile kama wanataka kutoa wanaweza kuyatoa, lakini lazima wafuate sheria hizo hizo. Wasiwe na silaha, wasivuruge amani, wasihujumu kasi ya walinda usalama, na wasiingie katika sehemu ambazo asiruhusiwi kwa sababu ya kiusalama. Tumeona hapo awali miundo misingi na vifaa ambavyo vimeundwa na jasho na kodi ya wananchi vikiharibiwa, ikiwemo barabara, na hiyo haitaruhusiwa kamwe. Na wale wanafikiri hii ni taarifa tu tunatoa, wajaribu hivyo leo, kesho ama kesho kutwa. We will be extremely firm, fellow Kenyans. It doesn't matter whether you're supporting the demonstrators or you are against the demonstrators. We will treat you as a criminal, and we are going to be very firm and very unapologetic, because we do not want to interfere with our democracy, but at the same time this country is the only country we have. And the rule of law is the only thing that puts us together and makes us equal and ensures that the weak and the mighty, the big and the small, the powerful and the weak can exercise their freedoms and feel protected under the law. I wish you all the best. Have a good evening. In about a fortnight or so, we will be addressing the nation on the state of our homeland security, on all the issues from A to Z. As I promised last year, we will be holding regular public accountability forums to tell the people of Kenya where we are, the challenges we are facing, the achievements we have made, and where we think we need to improve as a way of opening up security as a public good to scrutiny, accountability, and public oversight. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
The changes to the bill announced today at State House creates a feeling that the government is involved in mind games with the citizens. They create the feeling that some of the proposals now dropped were included in the initial bill, just to create outrage and give the administration opportunity to blame the listening careless. There was never any justification for proposing to increase tax on bread, for example. There was no good whatsoever in proposing to tax sugarcane being delivered to customers. Motor vehicle tax was silly and outrageous to me. The evil mind that conceived it was simply testing the results and the emotions of people. It takes a bad government to govern through mind games, and Kenya Kwanza is one such. Despite the changes announced today, we as a coalition are not convinced that they go deep enough to make the end product be a law that can promote investment and economic growth and contain corruption, especially the budgeted corruption and wasteful payments. We will therefore push the further changes to the bill and turn it into a document with rules and not stagnation. For instance, we demand that the export promotion levy of 10% on clinkers for manufacture of cement, which is meant to stifle competition in a particular sector with a view to protecting a particular investor in a specific sector. As a country, we will be shooting ourselves in the foot if we were to make laws just to protect one business person. The export promotion levy must therefore drop. We also demand the outright dropping of the proposal by the Transport Cabinet Secretary to increase fuel levy by Kenya shillings 9 per litre. We are against this idea that transport, which includes the movement of goods and people, is some kind of luxury that this country can do without. Without movement of goods and people, we have no economy to talk about. Our position is that there shall be no more ad hoc raising of prices. As a coalition, we reject the entire bill. And demand is totally withdrawn. We encourage Kenyans to continue engaging with the bill and continue demanding that the government does the right thing. Finally, before the chief speaks, we are also calling upon the immediate and unconditional release of all innocent Kenyans who were arrested today in the process of exercising their constitutional right to picket, to demonstrate under Article 37 of the Constitution.
Ruto, being the president of the country, has a fiduciary duty is only holding this seat in trust for Kenyans. This seat does not mean that it is his personal property, and therefore, without the removal of the taxes on the imported goods, which is further going to raise the cost of living, therefore demonstrations must just proceed as they've started. We will soon join you in these demonstrations after our debates, and I urge all members of parliament to still vote no, vote against the draconian, the oppressive finance bill that has caused untold sorrows in the lives of Kenyans. In our education sector, we want education to be made free. We want free education at the high school level. We want free education at the university level. And we also want free health care. We want health to be made free because Kenyans are suffering. It is not just about creating a problem and then having a solution for that problem, as we've experienced today by the president. This cheap PR we will not allow. You are only allowed to rig elections, but you cannot rig an economy. You cannot rig development. And now we are waiting for you. Asante sana. I invite my colleague, Honorable Mwago, to say a word.
Thank you, members of the 4 states. I join my colleague, Honorable Babu, in congratulating Kenyans, both online and even the ones who have presented themselves physically today in the streets of Nairobi in Starehe constituency. I support them fully and want to thank them for standing up and fighting against this draconian bill and actually bringing their leaders to account through SMSs, through pressure in the social media, bringing their MPs to the account to be true representatives of the people and what the people desire and their stand on this finance bill. We support the people's stand on we are rejecting the finance bill in totality, and actually we join in condemning the police for actually harassing people who are purported to be their bosses. The voters are the ones who are being taxed so that the government run. They rely on the taxes from the people who are demonstrating today, and it's very impunitive to actually punish the people who are your bosses. As you keep on telling us that you respect your bosses, you start by respecting your bosses. If you are making decisions that harass, that do not favor your bosses, you should respect those decisions. We are rejecting this finance bill in totality because in the last year we had another finance bill, 2023-2024, which we rejected, but they used their numbers and marshaled them in parliament. They marshaled their numbers in parliament and had it passed. But we are asking, what are the implications of the last year's finance bill? What has it gained for the people? The impact it has had on the economy, and how has it affected the livelihoods of our people? Before proceeding to another finance bill, we should be told how accountable and equitable was the last finance bill and how it has performed. Because we understand even the 11 targets, they missed them with the last year finance bill. So it was done by a group of MPs from the Kenya Kusha government and the president and his cohorts. We are not aware of what amendments they have done, and that is why we are saying if they have done some amendments, we are asking the speaker to suspend the debate, the tabling of that finance bill today, and we are asking for the Committee on Finance to go back and redraft a new finance bill and bring it back to the people for them to collect fresh ideas from the people and public participation to happen again, so that there's no rush in passing this bill. Let Kenya, and we're asking for total withdrawal of finance bill until they bring up another finance bill with the new amendments that.
Yeah, question. I just wanted to know, you said an ambassador helped in drafting the current finance bill. I don't know if you would be kind enough to mention the ambassadors.
About that, we are still getting sufficient information, and we are going to release. It is not just one person, but several of them, and we are going to remove a list of those who helped in drafting single-handedly this finance bill. And therefore, as I said earlier, that there are people who are purporting to be advisors of the president, but it is very unfortunate that the president does not listen to even his advisors. As we said earlier, that he advises his advisors on how to advise him. And because of that, the only public participation that the president will listen to is public demonstration. Any other question? Yes.
Mheshimiwa, swali langu litakuwa rahisi na sasa. Je, unaweza kueleza Wakenya uamuzi ambao umesema kwamba unaenda kupinga mswada wa fedha ambao
tunavitumia hapa nchini Kenya, bei zao zitaenda juu. Bei zikienda hataweza kununua bidhaa hivi kwa bei iliyo ya chini, so maisha bado itakuwa viko hapa chini. How do you talk on a national television and say clearly that things like diapers and pads are... You go to some different parts of this country, you find that people are using clothes, taking dignity away from our girls and our... On the ground, 60% of our women and our girls cannot afford. Shameful, because we are taking the confidence, the dignity, and there will be serious stigma. So I don't know what country is being run just in the name of saying that you are importing parts. And the moment you import the parts, is that cost not going to be met by the common mwananchi? The moment you import cement, is that cost not going to be met by the mwananchi? The moment you import maize, unga, is that cost not going to be met by the mwananchi because the tax has been increased on it? So any other thing that is being imported, the cost will go high. The cost of living will still be high. So there is nothing. And Ruto should come out and address them, not talking while he's scared.
We are given the 190s the power to protest and demonstrate. Because every other time when demonstrations are called in this country, the political class tends to assume as the opposition are mobilized. But today it was purely out of the goodwill of 190. The people have come out with zero mobilization. They have come out to the streets to demonstrate on their own. We did not want to interfere with the process because we didn't want it to be labeled an Azimio demonstration plan. They have seen Kenyans themselves come out and demonstrate against this finance bill. And I think the yes, the people are tired now. And as the general of Sare constituency, we have given them freedom and power to demonstrate in this constituency of mine, because my people have to express. They have the right to picket. They have the right to express whatever they think about this finance bill. And as their leaders, their general, I'm at the forefront with rejecting this finance bill and saying no.
The changes to the bill bill announced today at State House creates a feeling that the government is involved in mind games with the citizens. They create the feeling that some of the proposals now dropped were included in the initial bill just to create outrage and give the administration the opportunity to claim to be listening and caring. There was never any justification for proposing to increase tax on bread, for example. There was no good whatsoever in proposing to tax sugarcane being delivered to factories. Motor vehicle tax was silly and outrageous from the start. The evil mind that conceived it was simply testing the resolve and the emotions of Kenyans. It takes a bad government to govern through mind games, and Kenya Kwanza is one such government. Despite the changes announced today, we as a coalition are not convinced that they go deep enough to make the end product be a law that can promote investment and economic growth and contain corruption, especially the budgeted corruption and wasteful spending. We will therefore push for further changes to the bill and turn it into a document for growth and not stagnation. For instance, we demand that the export promotion levy of 10% on clinkers for manufacture of cement, it is meant to stifle competition in a particular sector with a view to protecting a particular investor in a specific sector. As a country, We will be shooting ourselves in the foot if we were to make laws just to protect one business person. The export promotion levy must therefore be dropped. We also demand the outright dropping of the proposal by the Transport Cabinet Secretary to increase fuel levy by Kenya shillings 9 per litre. We are against this idea that transport, which includes the movement of goods and people, is some kind of luxury that this country can do without. Without movement of goods and people, we have no economy to talk about. Our position is that there shall be no more ad hoc raising of prices of fuel. As a coalition, we reject the entire bill.
Yes. Yes.
And demand its total withdrawal.
Power!
We encourage Kenyans to continue engaging with the bill and continue demanding that the government does the right thing.
Yes.
Finally, before the Chief Whip speaks, we are also calling upon the immediate and unconditional release of all innocent Kenyans who were arrested today in the process of exercising their constitutional right to picket, to demonstrate under Article 37 of the Constitution.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tonight.
The changes to the bill are now
assemble, demonstrate, and picket. In a strongly worded statement, the African Union also reminded the Kenyan government that the right to peaceably protest is enshrined under Article 11 of the African Charter and must be respected. Rex, along with hundreds of thousands of other members of Generation Z, had assembled in Nairobi streets. He braved the cold front to hold up a placard and join in a protest song against the Kenya Kwanza regime. Rex, like all his comrades, was peaceful, unarmed, and non-violent, but he was senselessly gunned down by a police bullet. This is a tragic event with far-reaching consequences. Our coalition is extremely disturbed by Rex's fatal shooting. We have far too many memories of these tragedies, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family, with his friends, and the community that has suffered such a terrible loss. We stand with Rex, his family, and his comrades. We pledge to offer all our help required in seeking answers and justice. We demand that these perpetrators of police brutality be arrested and charged with murder. Fellow Kenyans, it is evident that there is a big problem with our security officers, as these tragic shootings are not isolated events. Not long ago, when Kenyans marched for Maandamano, 75 people were killed because certain police officers opted to fire live bullets into peaceful crowds. This is a return of a police force instead of a police service, contrary to our constitution. Despite the publicly recorded crimes, the murders of the 75 victims are yet to be investigated and the perpetrators brought to justice. We have not forgotten, and we will never forget. As Azimio, and on behalf of the people, we demand that Inspector General Japheth Koome and Nairobi Regional Commander Mr. Adamson Bunge immediately tender their resignations for failing to protect the peaceful demonstrators. We also demand that the Director of Public Prosecution bring charges against Koome, Bunge, and their rogue officers for the murders of Rex and the 75. All Kenyans' lives matter, and our police service just know that one day you'll be held accountable for all their lives lost. We further demand that all protesters detained illegally by state security agencies be released immediately and unconditionally. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, June the 20th, 2024, 115 members of the National Assembly voted to reject the Finance Bill 2024. They stood in solidarity with the majority of Kenyans who have used all platforms available to categorically say no to the punitive and irredeemable bill. A number of them are here with us, and we congratulate you, Waheshimiwa. And our coalition honors their contribution on the floor of the august House. It did not go unnoticed. You are indeed the patriots. Inexplicably, the other 204 MPs stood against the nation. They are the traitors and the exemplification of the biggest betrayal to Kenyans. They are the generation's personification of the home guards who helped the foreign colonials occupy our country and enslave our people. Just like those sullied home guards, the 204 have turned a blind eye and deaf ear to the social, political, and economic injustices perpetuated on all Kenyans by this contemptuously inept regime simply for material gain. To the 204 traitors, Kenyans know your names, your homes, your relatives, your businesses, and your mobile phone numbers. More importantly, they will use all constitutional means available to inject you from the august House. We thank the media for publishing the lists on how your MPs voted. As a coalition, we urge all Kenyans whose members of parliament voted for the bill to begin the process of their recall. They are dishonorable members. We further ask Gen Zs to develop innovative and creative ways of expediently and accurately effecting this. We're also reminding them that very soon the people of Kenya will be choosing the ballot. The